guys, it's me. Welcome back to my channel today. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about Sephora Sale Makeup that I'm not surprised is on sale. Basically, this is makeup that nobody wants, nobody cares about. They did terribly when it came to sales, and now it's on the sale rack, and for good reason. This idea was initially created by Lauren Mae Beauty, so I will link her channel as well as some of her videos. Make sure you check them out because she is so funny. I love her take on this video idea that I had to recreate it for myself. So thank you, Lauren, for the amazing idea. The first one right off the hop is actually from Fenty Beauty. This is the Mattemoiselle Plush Matte Lipstick. Basically, this is a lipstick that is very, very pigmented and nice on the lips. However, it does move quite easily. I feel like the staying power isn't really there. And because of how wide the tube is, I feel like it's really difficult to apply without getting it kind of all over the place, especially with the Cupid's bow area. So because of all of that hassle, I totally know why people are not really into it. I love the gloss bombs and the cream gloss bomb as some of my favorite lip products from her line, but this ain't it, you guys. Just avoid. The next palette that I see right off the bat on sale is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Riviera palette. The color story is a little bit haphazard for me. I do feel like it's a little bit tougher to get a look together. This to me is more so catered to a medium to expert makeup lover. I do love the Anastasia formulation, but I do think that compared to some of her other best-selling palettes like Soft Glam, Modern Renaissance, those are really user-friendly, very easy to grab looks together, so I totally get why this one is now half off. Next, we have another Fenty product. So I'm not going to drag this brand entirely. Obviously, there's some hits in this line, but this is not it either. This is the Fenty Beauty Match Stick Matte Skin Stick. Terrible product, you guys. I can absolutely tell why this is on the list for on sale. There's quite a few shades, which I commend her for. However, this is a matte product that is incredibly stiff when it comes to formulation. So I feel like when you actually buff it into the skin, you're really pulling on your skin to get this to smooth out. If you have any lines at all, it's going to emphasize them because it's just gonna fall right into that crevice and make it look nice and alive on your face. This is definitely a miss. The Beauty Blender Bounce Foundation. This is another one that I had a really hard time with also. It's interesting how it's formulated because it's formulated to work with the Beauty Blender sponge, which makes sense. It has like a really cool crevice at the top of it so you can place your Beauty Blender right in and it's supposed to disperse the product on top of the sponge. However, kind of messy, not quite seamless, so that part was kind of like a B+, maybe C when it comes to like grading how effective that was. But the formulation on the inside, no bueno either. Drying, emphasizing your texture, gathering into lines, looking kind of pilly on the skin, not something that I would recommend buying at all. This is supposedly a natural finish as well, which I think it leans more matte, and that's probably me being biased. I'm not really a matte gal, so that's also why I'm not surprised. The Capari Coconut Rose Toner. This is an interesting toner. Now, Capari is a line I haven't really gotten on with at all, to be honest, so this whole line to me is almost a miss entirely, so the fact that the toner is on here, really not surprised. This is supposed to be an alcohol-free vegan facial toner to help minimize pore appearance, except for when I did use it, my pores were emphasized. This also has witch hazel, which is very irritating to the skin as well. In particular, my skin, witch hazel and I don't get along. It has the rose fragrance and it also has lavender flower, which I am personally sensitive to. My cheeks get instantly red and tell me right away this is not a good product for me. So why it's on the sale list? It's not great, I'm gonna be honest. Pat McGrath Labs Rose Decadence palette. This is something that I knew would eventually go into the sale side. There's a couple reasons why I feel like this is the case. Number one, I do feel like when you're thinking about a Pat McGrath Labs palette, I've always maintained that investing in her 10-pan motherships are always the best way to go. This is when she creates palettes that are less expensive with certain things she cuts out. So for instance, she'll make, sometimes her mattes not as easy to blend, sometimes they're a little bit tougher, a little bit stiffer, and she also cuts back on the packaging. If you want to cut somewhere, I'm glad that she cuts packaging because I would love the product itself to be still good quality. But this is a palette that I think is pretty good, but not comparatively to some of her other eyeshadows that she offers. So because of that, I do think the majority of people would rather invest in Divine Rose 2, both full-blown mothership palettes that have the beautiful formulation, the creamy mattes and shimmers, those special shades that this palette doesn't have. This is something that I personally would recommend that you skip on unless this color story really, really speaks to you. Natasha Denona Tropic palette. This is also something that I think is very similar to her most recent release, which is Circo Loco, as well as her other release, Trio Chrome. The way that she's made all three of these palettes big sized, or her largest size, it doesn't make sense to me, and I do wish that she had made some of these midi palettes. So Tropic was created before her first midi, I believe. So I can see how this one was kind of, formulated to be the same size as like Sunset and Lila, except for the formulation of shades is very haphazard. There's some mattes that blend beautifully. There's some that are stiffer that you really need to work really hard to make it look beautiful. And when it comes to her Circo Loco, which is fairly colorful, with her Trio Chrome palette as well, both of those are the same size as this, and this is something that I do think is also something she shouldn't have done. She should have made these midi palettes for the price point alone. It would have been a lot more appeasing to the general population, but it's also a palette that most people are going to use as accessory or just the odd time, unless you're a color lover. Totally makes sense why it would be on the sale rack. And I do think that at some point we will see Trio Chrome and Circo Loco do the exact same thing. That's just my hunch. Let's talk about Dominique Cosmetics. This is a brand that I did try, I think, her first release, and then I was kind of turned off by it, that I decided not to purchase anything since. They were just okay to me. Her liquid lipsticks is what we're talking about here in the sale rack, and rightfully so, because these are fairly drying. I do find this to be kind of an interesting moussey texture. If you get a certain stock of this, it's actually fairly crusty looking. One of the ones I picked up way back in the day was kind of smooth, and the other one was really tough. I felt like I had to actually mix it on my lips as if I was kind of beating like a cake batter or something. It was just kind of gathering and kind of thicker, like the moussiness had dried over or something. So I'm thinking it was like a manufacturing error. I am not a liquid lipstick gal, so maybe not the right person to ask. If you love liquid lipsticks, maybe you will love this one. But for me, I don't like drying lipsticks at all, and this was fitting in that category. The Marc Jacobs Beauty Accomplice Concealer was also one that heavily didn't work out for me, so this is one that I'm not surprised is on sale either. It's interesting. It's interesting how wide and how circular the concealer is. I mean, I just wish it would have been maybe more narrow or smaller or something, because it was really difficult to do like the under eye area, and even when you did, it really like sunk into any texture and any creasing. I totally understand why it's nearly 50% off now. Marc Jacob base products are very hit and miss for me. This was a big miss. The same goes for this foundation. This is the Lawless Woke Up Like This foundation. First of all, I feel like the shade matching was a little bit tougher than some other foundations. The first foundation I picked up was way darker than what it described. Then I had to essentially exchange it for my correct shade, which was way too light. So that was first off. I felt like it was really difficult to match. Then I just felt like it was okay for the price point. We're talking about a luxury priced foundation. There are some others in this game that are way, way better. And when it comes to having so many to select from, you don't want to just be like, meh, okay, this is okay. When you can buy a stellar foundation that makes your skin look great, like save your coin and put it towards that. Don't just settle for something that's halfway there. This was definitely halfway there. Made my skin, in my opinion, also look kind of dry, killing a little bit as I was working with it. It wasn't the smoothest finish at all. It doesn't surprise me at all seeing it on sale. Here we go with a skincare product. This is the Lancer The Method Polish. This, you guys, is so harsh on the skin. Like so harsh. This is actually supposedly designed by a doctor. So it says here, it is Dr. Lancer has worked to develop a line of technologically advanced active products. Now this is a physical exfoliant that, in my opinion, on my normal skin type was very stripping. And right around that time is when I discovered that the chemical acids that I use just do the job, and you don't need a physical exfoliant like that. You just don't have to put your skin through the ringer. In my opinion, something that I don't think your skin needs, so it makes sense why it's on sale. The Wander Beauty Dual Lipsticks. This I only tried one time, and a one time was enough. This is the weirdest concept I've ever seen. Basically, there are two different colors, one on each end of the product. It was an extremely creamy formulation that moved constantly. The pigmentation wasn't really there either. It was more like a lighter pigmentation. It's really weird. I mean, I sort of get it. You know, you want like a bolder lipstick for night and maybe a lighter lipstick for day, and having the two of them together is maybe convenience, but it doesn't bother me to carry two lipsticks around personally. So I feel like the concept was not a win for me personally. Clearly not a win for most of us because it's on sale. Melt Cosmetics Shape Shift Eyeshadow. This is something that I reviewed quite a while ago and struggled through. I just think you need a little bit more skill. I don't think it's meant for beginners personally, and I do think this formulation is fairly stiff. I don't know if it's just related to this stack because this is the only one that I've tried. I personally used it when I had it as just like an all over color, but with primer or not, I just felt like, you know, the shifting part of this product was pretty cool, but otherwise nothing else really happened beyond that. I didn't feel excited to use it. It was taking up space in my collection. This is one that just didn't work. This Too Faced product is one that I'm also not super surprised that it's on sale, but I think you guys will be pretty surprised. This is the Natural Face Palette. Okay, so many people raved about this one, but this is one that I didn't really like, and I think it's because of like the undertones of some of the shades in this. The bronzers were weird. Like they had like really weird like red tinges or shimmery tinges that were way too shimmery. Obviously these products were pigmented and that's fine, but I felt like the bronzers were extremely pigmented, so you had to be very, very light-handed. Not that I don't like shimmer in my bronzers, but if it's really, really heavy, it almost looks like a really deep highlight and it just looks off on the skin. So this is one that a lot of people raved about, but I think I only really liked the blushes. The bronzers were kind of weird, the highlights were kind of weird. So for me, it just didn't make sense. This is one that did not work out for me. It is the Sweet Peach Face Highlight or Face Palette. This was supposed to be also like a highlight blush bronzer kind of thing, but no, the pigment, where was the pigment? I think it had to do with the embossment in the powders. They had like little rickets in each powder, almost like little holes, I guess, and that made it really difficult to pick up product. So that's probably why. I think it was the packaging and the design that really made this one crappy. It just didn't work out for me. So unfortunately, I'm not surprised this one's on sale, and rightfully so. What do you guys think of these products on sale? Are you surprised at all, or are these products that you love and you kind of wish that they worked out better for everybody else? Until my next one, guys, take care and stay safe. Bye, guys.